Hello everyone. I'm sure you can recognize my voice, so I'm not going to keep saying over and over who I used to be. Back when I was on YouTube before, the so-called gender war between black men and black women seemed to be a lot more intense, but it seems to have slacked off somewhat as I guess, you can only go over the same thing so many times and then it just gets old. I think some of the major players and some of the first players have either moved on to other websites or stopped making videos altogether because this dead horse has been well beaten. But nonetheless, there are still people making videos on this topic, whether it's people who have stuck around or new people who have come in. Anyway, there are several things that irritate me about videos made on this subject, and that is people passing off their opinion as fact. Another thing is misusing statistics, either on purpose or because they don't understand what the statistic really means, or making a statistic say something that it really doesn't say. Case in point is the 70% of black women are single statistic that people keep regurgitating over and over and over again. And I have to say, of all the videos I've heard where someone brings up this statistic, it seems that not a single one of them really knows what that statistic means. So that everyone understands what that 70% is referring to, I'm going to present a couple of other statistics that help put it in perspective. What we consider to be single or not single in our everyday lives is different from the legal definition of single. When you fill out your tax form and they ask you if you're married or single, they're not asking you if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They're not asking you who you're living with. They're not asking you who you have kids by. They're not asking you who you're engaged to. They're asking you if you have a living spouse. Just because a black woman is included in that 70%, it doesn't mean she doesn't have a significant other. It just means she's not married. So that 70% includes women who have boyfriends, women who have girlfriends, women who are engaged, women who are divorced, and women who are widowed. Now, how do I know this? I'm glad you asked. I found two different articles, one from the Washington Post website and one from the CNN website, that gave two different statistics. One statistic is from 2006, the other one's from 2008. The 2006 article references statistics that were taken in the census 2000 or 2001, and we won't have more statistics until they take another census next year. But anyway, it says that according to the 2001 census, 41% of black women have never been married compared to 43% of black men who had never been married. So actually, less black men have been married than black women. The other article, which is on the CNN website, is from 2008, and it says that 45% of black women have never been married. A slight increase, but either way, it doesn't say that 70% of black women have never been married. So obviously that 70% is including women who are in relationships but just don't have a ring. And as I said before, this statistic also includes women who are widowed and divorced. And it also includes women who are gay and women who do not want to be married. So anyone out there who's going to use this statistic, please know what it means. If your grandfather is dead and your grandmother never remarried, she is included in that 70%. Now this is something Oprah conveniently left out when she brought up the statistic on her show, which is something that's just typical of the media. They paint the picture that they want you to see, or they paint the picture that they want to present in order to get people riled up. The next thing I want to address is that people tend to exaggerate about the number of kids that black women have. You'll hear people constantly ranting about black women having 4 kids by 3 different daddies. Now, I'll be the first to admit I have seen plenty of black women who have 4 kids, even 6, 7, 8 kids with multiple different daddies. But for that to be the norm for black women is statistically impossible. Now, I looked at the Census 2000, which surprised me and said there were like 34 million something black people. I always thought we were 40 million. So I'll just round it up to 40 million. Now, we've been hovering around that number for quite some time. I know I think since I was back in high school, it's been around that number. If if a significant number of black women were popping out 3 and 4 kids each, we'd have a lot more than 40 million people by now. Basically, it looks like our population is just replacing itself, which means when 5 black babies are born, somewhere 5 black people die. Our numbers don't get increased as much by immigration as other races do, like the Latinos, so basically what we produce is all we're going to get. Now you might be saying, well, you talked a good game, but what do you have to back that up? Well, here are the fertility rates for women in the United States broken down by race. For those of you who are not familiar with the term fertility rate, basically what it means is just convert that number into kids, And what it means is if you took all the kids of a certain race and spread them out equally among all the women of that race, each one would have 2.2 kids or 3.1 kids or whatever the number is. The fertility rate for white women is 2.1, the fertility rate for black women is 2.2, and the fertility rate for Latina women is 3.1. So statistically, it's Latina women who have the most kids. Now I realize that these statistics don't address the number of women who have had abortions, but I am for abortion, so I don't care about that. Next, I'm going to present some statistics that shows how many black women do or don't have kids at what age. I'm just going to present this information and not take sides, but I do want to caution you that these statistics don't refer to whether these children are in wedlock or out of wedlock. This is just raw statistics about what percentage of women have children at what age. These are the stats for black females. For black females 15 to 19 years of age, 90.4% of them are still childless. For 20 to 24-year-olds, it takes a big drop, but it's still above 50% at 57.0%. For 25 to 29 years old, it's 33.3%, and for 30 to 34 years old, it's 18.9. For 35 to 39, it's 17.0. And for the last group, the interesting thing is the only race that does this. For 40 to 44 years old, the number goes back up a few points to 21.3, which I think means that some of the women who had children have died. Now, if you like to see how those numbers compare against other races, feel free to click the link and go look for yourself. The point of this video is just to say that if you're going to make a statement, back it up with something and make sure you understand what you're backing it up with.